I need to put my headphones on. Hold on.
Oh, we're live. Earth calling Michael.
I'm here, I swear.
Okay, just the switch on the wall, Mike. Just flip it up.
There. Hold on. I gotta find my camera. Microphone is
All right.
connected. Headphones are on. Here we go.
Oh,
The reveal.
yep. Oh, there he is. Oh, full Gandalf mode. I see.
I decided to leave the hair down today.
There you go.
I'm sorry, everyone. Sorry. And I also realized that we have to get Joel his own access as a producer on this.
I needed my own key.
Software. Yeah, we need the key to the building. We forgot to get Joel his key to the building. So he was dependent on me. I'm coming back late from a very important meeting.
All right.
So this is a person that's been a part of the project since almost the beginning, within the first year. And it was like a fire hose update meeting. So I can't go into all those details because we do have a topic we're supposed to be covering. Joel, I'm going to turn it over to you. Why don't you introduce?
Turn it over to me. You're the one who's talking about the crazy rock and roll, you young.
Well, you're the one who brought it up.
The youths are listening to today.
Yeah. Well, actually,
30 years ago, whatever.
Right. It's already a cycle that's come through. A very famous band came and went. Have you ever heard of this band before?
Not until you started talking about it. I did listen to some of their stuff yesterday when you told me. And honestly, I feel like my parents listening to Lawrence Welk while we were listening to Jeremiah Was a Bullfrog or something.
Jeremiah was a bullfrog.
Yeah. So, it's not my genre.
Not your cup of tea. Well, I encourage you. What's the
name
not
of the band again? Youth, so
what's the name of the band?
System of a Down.
Yes, and it's wrong in the title. Interesting, but this is what you. I didn't actually do this.
Yeah, I noticed it was a down instead of the down. Yeah.
But when you texted me, that's what you said. You know this guy from System of the Down, and I'm like, I know who you're talking about. I don't know who System of the Down is.
Well, it's funny because that's how his friend. I was meeting with a friend of the lead singer in the band, and he said, "Yeah, this guy's named Serge from System of the Down." So since I had never heard of the band, but then when I Googled it, it was A Down.
Good, so you did find it.
Well, so I thought I might have the wrong band, but no, it turned out. Who else? I don't even know what that means. Do you know what the title of the band means?
I'm embarrassed. I'm embarrassed to say I don't recall exactly. It was System of a something. It was going to be System of a something. I forget what the word was, and then they changed it to Down. And when they formed the band, and I did not listen to them because that is my genre of music. In case the hair.
I've heard a little of your stuff
too. Yeah, you heard some of my stuff, so it is right in line. But I didn't ever know who they were when they came out. I had stopped listening to that genre of music for a long time. There's so many new bands that come out, that you can miss, but they got really big. And you mentioned a guy that knows a guy.
Guy knows a guy.
You mentioned Serge. So Serge Tankian, the lead singer of the band, he's an important figure in the Armenian community because anybody who is successful in the world is seen as a hero for their people, right? Their population, their group, somebody who succeeds. And he's been very vocal about important causes. So he's an artist who is, a lot of artists use their platform for any number of things, but he, coming from a population that has suffered more than just about any other. So he's a good person, not just because he's an artist, but he actually supports and promotes and champions important causes. In your research, you find anything? You listened to some, you didn't like it. Did you do any more research? Anything stand out?
No, other than it's a little, I guess, Rage Against the Machine light. They're not quite. I picked up some biblical references. Strung in with some F-bombs and whatever. So,
yeah, kind of a hodgepodge.
It is. It's eclectic, I guess.
It's a was it a potluck? Bring your own
That's right.
your cuisine, your own.
Right.
Well, they're real, and I'm glad it was like when I discovered them was after I had started working on this project of an Armenian hero, and then I listened to them. I'm like, it was kind of a gift to me, a late gift. Like my favorite bands, I still all like them. I still like the music of all my favorite bands. But then here's this new band that's in the same genre, but yet unique. They're a mixture of like metal, alternative, like punk, rap, and like Armenian ethnic instruments and rhythms and like this instrumentation that they go into every now and then. I'm like, oh, that's Middle East, like that's Middle Eastern music, right? So very eclectic, but successful as a major act. Like they maybe second to Metallica. Like they got that big.
Oh, did they really?
They played for stadiums filled with people. They toured with the Beastie Boys, kind of at the height of the Beastie Boys, etc. So, oh, I just got your text. Are you there? Sorry. So tell me, you said you met somebody who knows somebody who. Tell me that story.
Oh, well, I'm down in the South 40 here in San Diego way.
San Diego rep.
Yeah, LA's backyard.
Representing.
Yeah. So this guy who's a production guy and he is a musician too.
And he's not Armenian.
No, he's Mexican descent. And he's very interested in the project. And when I told him about it, he bought a lot of the equipment for my studio. Those of you who don't know, Michael and I got connected in the first place because I had a production studio down in the San Diego County area. And we've been talking about this project. Originally, it was a movie. And so Michael was very interested in using my studio at the time and just the evolution of it and the evolution of the video and production industry in those 6 years has been pretty striking. And the entertainment, just video entertainment in general.
I'm surprised I didn't have a job still.
I'm really surprised. I'm very impressed that you still have a job, Michael, because lots of people don't. And
I had people in this industry are suffering.
Yeah. Oh boy, are they! And I had to close my studio, and I always swore I'd be the last man standing. But
I had a guy coming to me asking for a job. Like, could you recommend me? And I'm like, I just survived round 2 of the layoffs. So
yeah,
like they're not looking for people; they're looking for people to cut.
Yeah. So
right, sorry,
an interesting story. I talked to one guy who's a big lighting guru around these
lighting guru.
Lighting, yeah.
Yep.
And he said, "Yeah, everybody's suffering." And it was when my studio was struggling, and people would set up a shoot, and then all of a sudden the client would just cancel. No, I want to do it in my office instead of your studio or the studio. So the producer would tell me, "Sorry, we can't do it." I'm like, or they would just cancel. They would just cancel. Yep. No, he wants to reschedule. Well, what about all the people? What about all the grips and all the lighting guys? The sound guys who had that day set aside for you and your client.
Calendar.
What do they do? Mm-hmm. They just lost a day of wages. They can't get another one. It's too late.
They probably turned down other work because they were booked on that day.
I turned away other clients in my studio for you. And, they're just like, that's the way it is. And everybody's suffering. And I said, well, how is everybody getting by? And he goes, credit cards, man. What do you think? And I'm just like, oh my goodness.
God invented credit cards for just such a time.
To eat, 24% interest to eat.
All right.
And I'm like, oh, this is.
We got sidetracked now.
This is bad. But anyway, so
you sold your business.
I sold, yeah.
And so this guy bought a bunch of the stuff that you were.
He did. He pretty much
unloading. Okay, that's good. A good sign.
Which I was glad. I was glad my stuff got a place to be. So when we were wrapping it up, I told him about your project, and he's like, oh, I know a lot of people that would be very interested to see a project like that get going, and we would like to be part of it. We'd like to help promote it.
This thing sells itself. When people hear about it, they're just like, oh, that needs to get told, that needs to get done.
Yeah, it does. So so I was meeting with him, and he said, are you familiar with System of the Down? And I said, I know I've heard that before, and I thought it must have been from you. But so anyways, but he's a friend of
Roundabout.
You know,
A friend of, so Joel, you're my friend. So you're a friend of a friend of a friend of Serge Tankian.
yeah, with a friend or two, plus or minus. Yeah,
I think I got it right, but I don't think I added an extra.
plus or minus a friend. Yeah.
Well, I'm also a friend of a brother, right? I'm a friend of a brother of Serge Tankian.
Friend of a friend. Okay.
So the Armenian community is actually pretty small, especially in this day and age where we're all connected, like this, pretty quickly. Armenia is a country, but also a diaspora, right? They are spread around the world and
And I
connected.
noticed they call it that too.
Yep.
Yeah. When
They,
in our meeting, Michael and I had a meeting and they were talking about the diaspora, and I'm like, oh, okay, that fits, right?
yep. Yep. And it's remarkable because it's a Christian diaspora, right? Not every Armenian is a Christian, but 99% of them would speak positively of the Armenian Apostolic Church or the heritage of Armenia being the first Christian nation, etc. So it's like all Armenians will absolutely, when people are attacking Christians, Armenians as a whole are one of the groups that do not attack. I mean, there is that sliver
Sure.
of Armenians that want to de-emphasize the religious side, but the vast majority of them will absolutely identify with Christianity. And let me tell you a little what I do know about Serge. I have a feeling I'm going to be meeting Serge and all of the guys. My reason for believing that I'm probably going to be meeting them eventually is because that tends to happen. I just met a famous matte painter. What a matte painter is, it's a Hollywood position. It's a guy who's worked on Game of Thrones, not Game of Thrones, Lord of the Rings, right? Lord of the Rings and, 12 other big budget movies and TV shows that you've heard of, right? It's a famous Armenian matte painter. In other words, he paints the frame. When you don't have, when you don't have Mordor to go on location, right? There's no place called Mordor on the planet. You have to have somebody create that. And you have a frame in the screen where there's a painter who actually creates a realistic looking place. That's this guy. I found out about him about 6 years ago. And then I thought at that time, I'm like, I'll probably meet this guy eventually. Well, I met him this past week, right? So similarly, Serge Tankian, I found out that he knows about Soghomon Tehlirian and recognizes him as a hero and wants the story to be told. And so I'm running in those circles. And for you to mention it at a separate, like this is unrelated, me talking to you and you asking me if I know this guy, I'm like, I know of him and I have a feeling I'm going to meet him, and maybe it'll be through your contact that I eventually meet him. I don't know, but it's going to happen. Seems like it's going to happen. And then I can't do all. I got in trouble kind of for being too loose-lipped here on This Way Network. I found out maybe not too loose-lipped. So I mentioned in a previous episode, because sometimes it streams on Facebook. Actually, I don't know if this streams on Facebook or maybe I know that Bible Every Morning streams on Facebook. Somebody found one of my videos on Facebook from This Way Network. And I used a couple names in there. And that person that heard it knew those people and reached out to them. And then I got called by one of them saying, hey, he says he found a post of you talking about me on Facebook. I'm like, what? I don't go on Facebook. And then I realized it was through This Way Network that it spread to Facebook. And this guy found me. And it's kind of a hater. I don't know if he's really a hater, but he reached out to them and said, he said a few false things about me. And I'm like, one of the guys, I said, well, I did mention you and it did get on Facebook and I hope that's not an issue. And he didn't really say it was an issue. He didn't really say one way or the other. But the other guy I mentioned, I said to him, I'm like, oh, I know how this guy found you. It was on Facebook. I had mentioned you in a post that went on Facebook. And that guy was like, oh, okay, no, whatever. So it's like, which names am I allowed to say publicly and which should I I don't know. Do I ask all these people, is it okay if I mention you on social media? It's quite a dance I have to dance here. Joel, I know you're fine with me mentioning you on social media. Joel Fieri, everyone.
You could be my press agent. So
I'm going to hold on here. We're past 9. It's 9 o'clock right now.
right.
I'm going to turn on my work machine. Sometimes they don't have something for me to do, so we may be able to get a full half hour in.
All right.
But you're going to have to talk while I lean over here and push some
Okay.
buttons.
Well, no, Mike was just talking about today is the dance we do, right? It's social media, and I would be much more. I wouldn't need Michael as my press agent if I was more of a brand promoter. If I had Joel Fieri the brand, and I worked to promote it like most people do, I would be much more successful. So,
but you need a whole staff for that.
Yes. And Michael, there is a new rule: you can't bend over in front of the camera.
Okay. As long as my shirt is pulled down.
Yeah, as long as it is, but it really wasn't.
No. No, I have to play that back. Shoot, did I really embarrass myself just now?
No, not too bad.
Okay. All right. So, you got my back, right? No.
Yeah, we all got your back. They're right there. So,
all right, subclip that bit out, and that'll be a promotional for Joel Fieri, everyone.
That's right.
He's got
really, seriously. That's why my social media career never took off. I just I'm not a guy who's going to build his brand.
It takes a lot. It's a full-time job to.
Yeah, it is. And I was the guy that facilitated other people's brands for them to promote their brands.
Right.
So, and that's
your role. It's like that's your skill set. That's what you gravitate to. Some people are built for promoting. Some people are built for social media, and some people are, I don't know, just like me leaning over in front of the camera. I have to log in. There's all these passwords and stuff. Oops.
All right. So yeah. So, but anyway, that is the key these days. Keep posting, keep putting up content, and that's why you were the ideal person to take my podcast network, because you can do this.
Yeah, my idea is that when the funding comes, we'll start eventually, when it's in certain budgets, etc. We'll start assigning people to social media, and somebody will pick up. You have the domain name Christian Podcast Central, which is valuable in and of itself, and we've maintained it as at least some content going on there regularly. Right. That's all you need to do, just kind of maintain. Right. When the funding comes, it becomes very different, and you actually start investing in marketing, promoting, etc.
Right.
Hold on, got to put this code.
And a lot of times it is a moving target too. So many things change.
Right. I'm going to tell you a little bit about the meeting I just had, so that people that hung on, hoping that I was going to come in today.
Well, they were worried about you, actually.
The reason I was late, I'll tell you here in a second. We got one more password to enter. Actually, two more. It's this secure process to log into
Thank you. So
we got our loyal family. Anybody who's watching our content right now is watching this thing unfold.
Yeah.
And patiently watching this thing unfold. The adventures of This Way Network.
All right.
Is there anything you can say? So you're wanting to set me up to have a meeting down in San Diego. Where does that stand right now?
Oh, just in the mentioning stages. I just brought it up.
The ball is in his court.
Kind of, yes. I should put two guys together. And
we could do it remotely, like virtually, like this.
Yeah,
for an initial meeting.
They have a nice studio. We can have a gathering into if you want to come. If you want to,
they could host. They could host the event.
Drive down the 5. Yeah.
Oh, all right.
So
see, we're business planning here in front of the audience.
Yeah. And I'm not sure we weren't even sure the size of the Armenian community here in the San Diego area, but that's something that we have to investigate.
Yeah.
So,
all right. So let me let you know something that will be helpful, and you could even pass this on to him. So one of the names that I mentioned in social media that didn't mind me mentioning it, so I'm going to mention it again here. One of the person that, Der Schnork, right? He's the archpriest at St. Peter Armenian Apostolic Church in Van Nuys, California. He's a public figure already. He's been there for 30 plus years. And so he doesn't mind me mentioning his name. He's a public figure. And so he supposedly, and this is a man of God, so I'm going to count his word as gold. He said he's going to pick a date on the calendar where I would come to, one of the venues at St. Peter and give a 45-minute presentation, right? So he is going to look at the calendar and put me on his calendar to come and present this project to whoever will come. And I looked at the campus, and there's a big room. I don't think it would be in the main church hall. That's a very traditional place, but they have this huge other like community hall with it's like basketball court size with a stage and everything. And that might be the place, or they might have other rooms. They're probably fairly flexible. But once he puts that on the calendar, that's essentially that's the tacit endorsement of the Armenian Apostolic Church.
Oh, really?
That's the diaspora and Armenia combined, right? We were talking about how Armenia is divided. There's two groups. There's what's called Hayastansi. Hai just means Armenia, and Hayastansi is those from Armenia, and they have a very different mindset. They have their own mindset. They're just born and raised in Armenia, and that's their culture. And then there's the diaspora, which is all these different countries with Armenian communities within them that are tangentially connected, or they are all connected. And one of the ways they're connected is through the Armenian Apostolic Church, like the equivalent to the Pope of the Armenian Apostolic Church. There's two of them. One of them's in Armenia. And so being connected at this level to an archpriest at a very highly reputable Armenian church, and for them to have me come speak, it's like the marketing push that the marketing push of marketing pushes into the audience that is already predisposed to loving this project and wanting it to get told. Right. So once that date is on the calendar, we'll be pushing that. And then the guys in San Diego can use that as they're spreading the word to the community in San Diego. And it's not just the Armenian community. I have a few friends, Christian friends down there that are involved in big ways at big churches down there. And so it'll be the Armenians and the non-Armenians coming together for an important story.
Yeah.
All right. I'm logged in at work. Let me see if my name is on the, if they've given me an assignment yet, and then I'll be able to turn my undivided attention to you.
Okay. You're a bit divided now. Yes.
All right. So I have time. My name is not yet. I have not received an assignment. Hello, everyone. Welcome to
Michael,
the chat session at This Way Network. Sorry, I'm late.
Let's start the show.
What are we talking about today, Joel? You take it from here.
Talk about you, long-haired kids, and your rock and roll. That's
all right. Oh, I was going to fill you in on the meeting I just had.
Yes, you were.
All right. So taking my lesson from not throwing names around loosely, I won't mention this person's name, but I just met with a person who is, for lack of a better term, SJW, like dictionary definition. You know what SJW stands for?
Yes, I do.
What does it stand for?
Social justice warrior.
And what is a social justice warrior?
Oh, a very woke individual, that radical left, that kind of thing.
Mm-hmm. So this is probably the most, it's not a name you would know, not a name that anybody would recognize, but somebody who's so deeply embedded on that side of the aisle, right? It's somebody who literally just finished a political campaign. Like, it's a person that works as a political activist for SJW type candidates, right? The kind that we would think that we would label as the enemy of America, right? The enemies of what we, so this is a person, a little bit more background. This is a person that has been doing this for probably over 10 years, and was in a documentary that included a very famous SJW candidate, AOC. So the story of AOC, when she got elected to the Congress, she was a part of this particular political affiliation. I don't know if they're called Social Democrats or Democratic Socialists. It's something, those two words.
Right.
Maybe it's Social Democrats, and it's a movement, and I think maybe funded by Soros or something like that, right? So this is like, as far into quote unquote the enemy camp as a person could get. This person that I met with was in that documentary. In fact, I better not give it away. Well, I won't tell the name of the documentary, but I went to the premiere of this documentary where it was happening, and the AOC appeared via Skype in the screening. It was her first session she was a freshman in Congress, and she appeared in this premiere screening. She would have been there physically if she didn't have to be in DC for her first term or whatever. So like, I was there. My friend was in the audience as one of the people who was in the documentary. And literally the last time you see my friend up on screen, it cuts directly from my friend to AOC winning her campaign, right? It's like, this project has me at the highest levels of both sides of the aisle, right? I have a friend, and he doesn't mind me mentioning his name, Brian Godawa, who's a friend of the network. He wrote the script for the Hunter Biden movie that exposes the laptop and everything. Like it was a terrible low budget movie, but my friend actually wrote the script. That's how far right connected I am. And then this person is as far left as you get, was in a documentary with AOC. And so this person has also been a part of this project from early on, and not involved because the budget, the financing hasn't come. But this is a person who's super connected in a whole different demographic that will also be sympathetic to this anti-genocide project, right? There are something that even the people that are out there protesting, pro-Palestinians that are out there protesting Palestine, protesting Israel, etc., like even all of those people, you and I have things in common with. They believe they are pursuing a moral issue, right? They believe, and in their hearts, their intentions are good. They're mistaken about any number of things, as are you and I. We're all mistaken about any number of things, but there are things that we can agree upon, such as genocide is evil. So when I met with this person today, it was like I hadn't really talked to her in maybe a year, but in depth, I really haven't talked to her in like 3 or 4 years. And so it was kind of a turbo update. That's why it went long. And meanwhile, she's copiously writing notes. She's like, oh, I can connect you to this person and this person. I can have you come speak at this kind of event over here. And it's like, I am going to be booked in all, cross all of the political spectrum. So that's a quick update on the meeting I just had.
That's big. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
it's crazy. It's like, okay.
Well, that's like, I think we were saying at the meeting, this is one thing that can unite the Armenian community and those sympathetic with it. But they said it's a very divided community, like most are. I mean, you just described a very divided nation right now. Americans are very divided. So you and I couldn't be different. You and I couldn't be different from this.
More different, right? We couldn't be more different
person and have couldn't be a more different view of reality.
Well, here's the crazy thing. She comes from a Christian family. Like her parents are godly Christian people, and so those roots are still there for her, and she's still sympathetic to it. And she had asked me to pray for her one time. I'm like, oh, and I even asked her later. I'm like, why'd you ask me to pray for you? Right? So she knows that this is an important history, and I think, is like going to be returning to her Christian roots as she watches this thing unfold. That's my sincere belief. And that's, again, more important than all of the things we divide over, right? That's more important than all the things we divide over. And in this meeting, I'll have you all know, I went there as I was walking to the meeting. it was like God put in my heart something to tell her. And it was right along these lines. And one of the things that God put on my heart to tell her is, you realize I'm going to be meeting face to face with a lot of very influential MAGA. I said it to her face. I'm like, I am going to be meeting with, I am connected in that community majorly. And it was like, and I said to her, you are my connection to the other end of that spectrum, because this is a uniting project. Making sure she understands it straightforward. And she was like, still taking notes, and like, it was,
okay.
so I've always had the sense that, as you said, the Armenian community is super divided. And you ask any Armenian if Armenia could ever be united, and they're like, are you kidding? Their political differences. You think Republicans and Democrats have political differences?
Yeah.
The Dashnaks and the Hunchaks and the Ramgavars, right? It's like, then there's the independents or whatever. There's these three major political, I'm not saying they line up with one or the other. I would never associate the Dashnaks with either of the American political parties. I don't know all the issues that they disagree upon, right? But that kind of tension. Imagine a Republican ultra leftist and an absolutely right wing. Ultra leftist and an absolute right wing Republican, a Democrat, coming together and agreeing and uniting around something. Well, that's the potential, and in their minds, the unlikelihood of this project uniting Armenians, just Armenians. But it's happening. Right. I am meeting more and more Armenians and telling them. I even mentioned the political parties to one guy who was a Dashnak, and he said, the Hunchak side had never happened. I'm like, it's happened. I was like, these are the facts. So once Armenia unites around this story, I realized that is a story in and of itself, the unification of this one group. And that will translate to the non-Armenian community, starting with the Christian community, because this is a Christian history. But once that unity starts spreading, the word spreading from both sides, it's this potential. There's a quote from a missionary, I think it's William Carey, like the father of modern missions or something like that.
Yes.
And he said, expect great things from God and attempt great things for God.
For God, yeah.
Expect great things from God and attempt great things for God. And I'm like, oh, one of the great things that I am attempting for God is uniting the Armenians and then uniting all humans behind a story. And that sounds like a great thing that I'm attempting for God. And it sounds like something that God would be, that's in his plan as well. So I feels like I'm doing the will of God. So I can go on and ramble.
Yes, you can. And it's worth doing. Like I said, this is a story that's worth telling. It really is.
I want to say hi to some people here. I should read the comments. There. All right, let's see. I await the day the Dems that are just going along decide to rebel. Yeah. And that's a large cross section, right? There's some insanity happening at the height of both political parties. And it's becoming more and more evident every day that one particular political party is not American, or is very anti what we all trust and believe in, like our heritage. So it's happening.
Diehard left people I know are finally saying, wait a minute, this is the craziness is becoming undeniable now. So
there's a Hammer Time shut up here. Oh, I watch too much Okay, here's a good point. What percentage of your day, Joel, do you spend consuming political content?
Oh God, what percentage? Well, it would really depend. When at the height of my,
let's say your waking days, forget the sleeping, right? Of your waking hours.
Yeah, no, I don't have headphones with old tapes of Rush Limbaugh. No, no. In the height of my podcast network, when I was running the podcast network, it's probably a big part of my day. Now I'm remodeling a house, putting an addition on a house, and I'm going through all kinds of transitions now. So I am actually behind on things right now. I'm a little out of the loop that I used to be, but not I don't do it nearly as much as the people. That's another reason why the podcast network probably was suffering, because of my lack of attention. I didn't.
Right.
I'm not
Yeah.
someone who can. I used to be on William's show, right?
Yep. Yeah.
And William, that's all William does. All
You
day
ask
long.
that guy. You ask that guy this question. What percentage of your day, William, your waking hours are you focused on politics? He probably like 90%.
90,
I
yeah.
do have to eat, and I do have to have a conversation with my
And
wife.
he has to turn wrenches once in a while on the car behind him.
But it's
right,
got
yeah.
it playing behind. In his
Oh, he
ears,
probably
right?
does. Yeah, you're right. So no, and that's when, yeah, so no, compared to most people in this genre, I don't. And again, that's just something that I can't be with the screen in front of me all day long, and I can't be on social media all day long. I'm just an old fogey, maybe, or there's just other stuff to do.
Well, I'm with Jacqueline here. Have limited exposure to politics. I get too angry. I go on Friday Morning Fiasco with Doug TenNapel and Q. That's my Friday morning, one of my Friday morning shows. And sometimes Doug will say, "All right, so what political topic is at the forefront of your mind, Michael?" And I'm like, Armenia. It's like I'm so focused. I'm so busy
Right.
with this. I do scan headlines, and so I'll spit out something that is the latest headlines. But you can get so addicted to it and so angry. And then when
again-
Jacqueline mentions the anger, there's a hormone or something that's released that you can get addicted to, that rage, that infuriation. So
But also
good to take a break.
Yeah, it is good to take a break, but the stakes are so high now. I mean, we are in the midst of a communist revolution. We might as well admit it.
Right.
And
We have to, right? It's your responsibility and your duty to be on top of it.
It's the future, God willing, the future of our children and our grandchildren. And we only have what we have is because our grandparents and great grandparents took this stuff seriously, and we have to. We're not so privileged that we can ignore this stuff and not have it lead to horrible consequences. So,
well, the beauty.
So you got to find a balance, but at the same time, you can't just say, "Oh, I don't care about politics." I'm like, well,
exactly.
Let's say that I don't pay attention to politics. I'm like, well, that's not to your credit, because you need to.
It's absolutely.
You may not be interested in politics, but politics is very interested in you.
Yeah, politics has you in its grip, whether you know it or not.
At least in its crosshairs. Yes.
It affects you. Like you can't talk about biological science anymore in the public.
Right.
Literally, biology teachers are getting fired and canceled from their tenured positions because you can't say, like, that's going to affect you all the way down.
All right. Well, I do have to go. We're about 7 minutes over, but so I'll let you.
So now you're bailing out early. All right. I do
have early. 37 minutes. So everybody's hanging with us. So
Joel,
Michael,
thank you for being patient. I'm glad you called me while I was in another meeting. I'm like, I got to go. Yeah. Thank you, everybody, for hanging in there.
Thanks, people.
I'm going to
good comments.
Sign off.
Today.
Signing off now. God is in control.
Amen, brother.